So endometriosis is quite a common condition. It can affect women of all ages, but most commonly in their 30s and 40s, but it can, as we know, affect younger women in their 20s and even teenagers. We don't know quite what causes it, but we know exactly what it is. It's the cells that line the uterus that you lose when you have your period are growing outside the uterus where they shouldn't be. It can be around the tubes, around the ovaries, and that's how it probably affects your fertility. It's actually unusual for it to completely block your tubes, your fallopian tubes, but we're confident that it interferes with the way sperm and the egg can mix, for instance. It can interfere with the way the egg travels down the fallopian tube. There is a genetic component to it. It's not strong, but if you have a sister with it or a mother with it, then it's more likely that you'll have it. It can be completely silent, so you may have no symptoms at all, but most commonly it causes quite painful periods. So that's how people commonly know that they've got it, or you might present just with difficulty in getting pregnant. There's unfortunately only one way of diagnosing whether you've got it or not, and that's a laparoscopy. Camera in your tummy button, usually in and out the same day, and we can have a good look around inside with the camera, comes up on a TV screen, and we can see if you've got endometriosis. And this slide shows you some endometriosis. You can see the black blisters, they look like blisters. That's actually on the bladder just in front of the uterus. So that's where it commonly occurs. It also commonly occurs down around the ovaries.
So for me with endometriosis, I had originally, when we started trying, been told that I was undiagnosed fertility for about 3 years, and so when I was told that I had endometriosis, for me I felt two emotions really clearly. One was I was terrified of surgery because it was just so out of control and unusual for someone like me who had never had any medical thing like that. But there was also the hugest relief just to know, one, that the fact that I'd had such painful periods and really struggled through my teens and my early 20s, as well as sex being really hard and it being really painful. It was just nice to know that there was a reason and I wasn't making it up or feeling like the oddball or something like that. So it was really nice to have the diagnosis in that sense, and also for me it gave relief because it meant that there were treatment options, there were ways forward to actually have my baby, whereas undiagnosed just makes it a little bit difficult to have that hope. So a diagnosis was actually good for me.
How can we treat it? Well, the commonest way is to actually treat it at the time of the laparoscopy. So we can cut it out or we can burn it, and we know that that probably doubles your chances of getting pregnant just with that treatment. But the good news is that there's lots of other things we can do, and they would range from lipiodol flushing, which is a poppy seed oil we can put up your fallopian tubes, intrauterine insemination, which is putting sperm up into the womb if your tubes are normal, and there's IVF, which is mixing eggs with sperm if your endometriosis is severe. And probably one of the most important things, apart from endometriosis, is your age. So age obviously hugely affects fertility as well. So we'd much rather see people in their 30s than in their 40s in terms of seeking help. And how long have you been trying? And so if you've been trying for 3 or 4 or 5 years, you probably need some help.
So in 2007 I had my first surgery, and that was absolutely amazing because for me I was able to sleep properly. I actually had good circulation in my hands and they were actually warm instead of cold, and the pain was a lot more bearable with periods, in fact to the point that it was non-existent, and sex was actually enjoyable and nice finally. And then again it came back, so I had a second surgery in 2010 which was not as successful but still good. And then I tried 2 lipiodol flushes, and the reason I did that is because I've had miscarriages, and I've found that the poppy seed going through the fallopian tubes in the uterus can help with it holding, and so that's why we pursued and tried that option. So we did it twice, but unfortunately it didn't work for me. But there's been a lot of success for other people with it, and at the moment I'm trying Zoladex. I've got my last injection on Monday. I'm having 3 courses of it. Every 28 days you have an injection, and it just puts your body into a false sense of menopause to pretty much bottom out that estrogen so that the endometriosis will stop growing. And we're doing that because I'm starting IVF in March, and so we're actually hoping that the body being tricked is actually going to mean that when we conceive, we'll actually be able to hold and not have another miscarriage.